All right, welcome to Tete a Tete, a place for hope, truth, and healing. And today, again, I'm back with Fiorella. We thought after the first episode, there was so much more we needed to cover. And so we're back today to talk about a little bit more of those things and maybe dive a little bit deeper into the details and some of the facts out there that anybody can just go look up. You can start with what are some facts about CSA and our society or in our culture, in our country, in this world today, and you'll find them. I will try to source pretty much everything that we're going to be talking about at the end. And yeah, so without further ado, I have Fioretta here with me again, and gonna dive deep about some CSA facts. Thanks for
Yes.
joining me again.
Thank you for inviting me again. It's my pleasure always and just to be on your podcast, bringing some conscious to such an important topic. So thank you so much for the invite again.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just like I've told you last time, I love doing stuff for that. The more people I can bring on and talk about this, the louder noise that we can make, the better
Yes.
it is because the goal is still the same, never will change. It's just to bring awareness to what's happening in regards to CSA or SA that people are not mindful or don't know about or choose not to know about. And lastly, the victims of those crimes. So I
Mm-hmm.
want them to know that there are people out there who care about them and want people to know about what they've been through, as
Yes.
we have our own stories as well as to what we've been through. So I want to talk about something. So first, what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the silence. So breaking the silence. So with CSA, if you think about it, or if you look up if you start reading anything about CSA, or if you start talking about anybody who's been a CSA abused, the biggest thing I would say, aside from the crime itself, the action of what's happened to them, is the silence.
Yes.
And we talked a little bit about that last week. The silence, it keeps you from coming out. It keeps
Mm-hmm.
you from telling people what's really been going on, and it also emboldened the perpetrators. So
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
let's talk about the silence. So what are your
Yes.
thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I feel like just this culture of silence around survivors, it's not only harmful to the survivor, but to future generations as well. It keeps protecting the predators. That's the only thing. But also, I feel a lot of the silence is combined with the culture of
Yes.
shaming, of just being scared of what people are going to think about you, even though it's such a common topic. The silence completely like stops you from healing because if you don't talk about it, if you don't accept what's happened to you,
Hmm.
there's no way you can start on your healing path.
Right. I agree. I agree with you. And then
Yes.
just like we said last week as well, the silence is the fuel for those
Mhm.
pedophiles. I mean,
Mhm.
let's just be honest. That's what they are. And those guys are those grown ups. It's mostly guys, but it's also women
Mhm.
and men. So whenever they hide in the shadow and they pretend to be certain people that they aren't, and they're just taking advantage
Mhm.
of the kids that don't know any better, that see them as this authority figure, and they use
Mhm.
that to their advantage. And again, the silence. They love the silence. They
Yeah.
they they
They
they
thrive on it.
flourish. Yeah, they thrive on it because again, that's their comfort zone. While they're operating in the silence in the dark, people don't know what they're doing, but
Mhm.
they just keep going. So that's why again, the silence is the biggest thing. Like I said again, it's
Mhm.
aside
Yes.
from the action itself. So the silence is absolutely horrible. It says from my notes here, I have survivors often fear not being believed, facing shame,
Mhm.
or being blamed for it.
Mhm.
And again,
Yes.
that's something that you went through. I went through it, where
Mhm.
for a lot of reasons, you don't want to taint the family name. You don't want to, uh, uh, you know, people from church to find out what's really been going on, people from the community to find out what's really been going on. So the easiest thing to do is just keep it to yourself.
Exactly. I also feel like as a child, for me, for keeping the silence for so long, also a big part on it playing was the confusion of what was really going on.
Hmm.
Because if someone is telling you, keep a secret, and this person is around the family all of the time, seems like a very nice person, very respectful, everyone absolutely loves him, and he's telling you to keep a secret, that's going to be really confusing to you because you don't really know what's going on, if this is something
Yes.
wrong, if this is something normal, if this is something that I should speak or not about,
Yeah.
even if it makes you uncomfortable. So a lot of the silence, I think it's tied with the confusion part as well, of children not
Hmm.
knowing really what's going on because they're doing stuff that no children should be doing.
Yes. Yes. And so, what's the best way to combat the silence, do you think?
Talking about it, teaching your kids since they're little to that they can have autonomy over their bodies.
Hmm.
Especially, I don't know how it is in your culture, but in my culture, you always have to give a hug and a kiss to everyone in the family
Yeah.
when
Yep.
you're a child, even if
Yep.
you're not comfortable
Yep.
with it, even if
Yeah.
you don't know the person very well, they make you go and do this stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a big, big sign of like there's nobody autonomy like for children.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
something as small can make such a big difference as telling your children you don't need to go and give a hug to everyone. That doesn't
Hmm.
mean that you need to be disrespectful. You can like wave, say hi, but
Yeah.
don't put your children in uncomfortable situations.
Yes. I was laughing, obviously, not because of the
Yeah.
topic itself. It's because I can relate to that. And I understand the cultural aspect of that, what you just said, because I was born in Haiti. So it's a similar thing that we do to show respect and
Yes.
to
Yes.
be proper. And mostly it was towards women, but I've seen other cases where, the boy kisses uh, the uncle, the father, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where, again, it's so important for parents to be vigilant, to step up,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and to have the focus on raising the child or the children,
Yes.
because those kind of things, again, there is a reason why a lot of people are not talking about it. There's a reason you
Mm-hmm.
and I and very few people are talking about it. And while I'm at it, let me just say that. So we live in a culture right now where negativity sells. So what we're doing right now, I'm fully aware that it's not, most likely it's not going to go viral. Why? Because it's an uncomfortable topic.
Yeah.
And it's something, when you talk about it, not everybody's going to be like, yeah, I know it's happening to me, but
Especially
let me talk
men.
about it. Yeah, exactly. Like, so many of my friends have told me that what you're doing right now, like, I wouldn't do it, but I respect it. Why I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't do it? I just can't see myself doing that. And
Yeah,
again,
there's a lot of
I,
pressure on men,
yeah, yeah,
especially.
yeah. And I get it. And trust me, I'm not villainizing those people thinking that they're cowards or anything like that, or
Mhm.
weak for not being able to do that. Why? If you're going to do something, especially in this world, you got to be able to face the consequences, good or bad, and
Mhm.
the backlash or whatever it is, because there will be some, especially when you're standing up for something that you believe to be the truth, and you are attacking this this group of creepers, pedophiles, just like hiding in the dark, just committing those heinous crimes. So I know people are not going to like me for saying that, and if I'm
Mhm.
coming out and saying that, this happened to me and now I want to speak about it, which is what I'm doing. This is what you're doing. I
Yeah,
have tremendous respect for you for that, which is why we hear it out and we're talking and we're raising awareness for it.
thank
It's
you.
because it's because of this. We got the silence. The
Yeah.
silence can't be broken by itself. It doesn't just be like,
No.
oh, it was silent and all of a sudden now it's just very loud. Everybody can hear it. People have to step up. Someone has to step up. And I believe everybody can do your small part. Whether you're not doing what we're doing right now, whether you choose to do something different, maybe
Mhm.
the small inquisitive action from your part, where if you see something, say something. We've all heard that
Yeah.
before. Let's
Yes.
apply this here. You see something, you say something. You see an uncle, some family friend is acting all shady and creepy towards a young girl, a young boy. Say
Mhm.
something. You
Yeah,
don't
it
want to
starts
be,
somewhere.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because like you don't want to be an accomplice by association. Like you just,
Yes.
because it happened to you and you hear us talking about it and it's an actual thing and it's being like heavily underreported. So say
Yes.
something. You don't have to start a YouTube channel, writing a book or anything like that. It might, like, just do something. The little things. So
Even if it's for your own healing,
yeah,
just
yeah,
a
for sure.
little bit of talking can make such a big difference and such a big impact. Absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, which brings us to our next point. So the grooming in the warning signs.
Mhm.
So most abusers are not strangers, right? And we know that they are trusted friends, family
Yes.
members,
Family members.
sometimes schools. Lately, I've been watching some. There's this channel on YouTube. I think it's called Law and Crime, and
Mhm.
so the amount of teachers having
Yes.
sexual relationships with their students, it is
Yes.
overwhelming. I don't
I
know if
saw
you've seen
that.
it.
That happened in my
My
school
gosh.
too.
Wow.
Yeah, one of the teachers had a relationship. In this case, it was a female. It was a teacher female. So that's look up different. So that's something that we actually have to talk about because we are thinking like, oh, if a underage boy is with an older woman, they usually say like, oh, that's a big accomplishment when
Mhm.
it's never an accomplishment, no matter if the sex are reversed, is exactly the same. So that teacher ended up pregnant by that boy that was in high school. She was like 10 years older. And back then, everyone thought that great, good deal for the boy. In
Yeah,
what
yeah,
word? If it was reversed, that would have seemed so much different. And looking back at it, it's he was just a boy, just a
yeah.
teenager.
Well, again, that's exactly my point. I made that point from the previous video. I know the
Mhm.
voice wasn't great, but please focus on the content. So if you go
Yes.
back and watch it, I talked about whenever those things were happening to me, my peers were no help at all because they
No.
looked at me as, wow, man, I can't believe you get to do this. I wish I was doing that. So when I
Yeah.
was confused and trying to look up to my peers to kind of be like, hey, I can help you out, get out of this craziness. Like you were way
Mhm.
too young to be involved in this, and like let me help you out. Instead of that, they were glorifying me, putting me on a pedestal. So exactly what you just said. So if you're a young kid and then your teacher gets involved with you, if you're a boy, it's different than if you are a young girl and your teacher
Mhm.
gets involved with you. I understand the difference, but at the end of the day, it's the same thing
It's
because
exactly
there's
the
no
same.
consent.
It's
You
the
can't
same harm.
consent. Yeah.
Yes.
Like the harm is still being done. Like this is like they're not at the age where this type of actions, this type of activity should be going on. And
No,
especially
not at
when you
all.
are an authority figure in their lives, like that's the last thing you should be doing. But you
Yeah.
took advantage of that fact. And I mean, like, go watch
Yes.
some Law and Crime after this and
Yes,
see
it's so
some of those
common.
videos. It's absolutely
Yeah.
crazy.
Same
So
with priests and with
mhm,
coaches. It's
yeah,
just very, very common.
it's rampant, absolutely rampant. Like again, like to me, sometimes I get it. We have a lot of stuff going on. We have work. We have a ton of stuff going on.
Mhm.
But I'm sorry to say, just because you have a lot going on with work, with family, with everything, it doesn't mean you get to drop the ball with your kids because I mean, the results of that
It's
will
not
be
fair.
it's not fair to them. Yeah,
No.
it's not fair to them. So, staying on that same topic, so warning signs. Let's talk about warning signs. So, what are some warning signs that you think, whether it's a student, whether it's anybody, any kids should be on the lookout for, or the
Mhm.
parents should be vigilant.
So, especially within family members, I'm gonna mention something that is really prevalent in our culture, which is just seeing normal as having a very touchy uncle, a very touchy aunt, a very
Yeah.
touchy cousin. Like that's just so normal. You're in family gatherings and everyone's like, oh, did that uncle touch you when he gave you a hug? Or was he doing this or that? That's just so common. In the Latin culture, that's like a number one thing. Like there's always a super touchy uncle.
Yeah,
And
the
that's
creepy one.
a that's the number one sign. There you go. Why would a grown up be super touchy with children?
Mhm.
There's like the number one thing. Don't allow that around your family, around your children. If you already know there's someone that it's, I don't know if you can call this brave, but bold enough to be doing
Mhm.
this kind of
Yeah.
stuff in front of everyone and everyone just laughing it off. Just with those little things, you can tell there's something going off. Also,
Yeah.
overly nice. Someone that loves to play with kids and family gatherings. You see that uncle always playing with kids.
Mhm.
No, that's
Yeah.
not normal. That's not someone that loves children and loves to be involved with children. That's not usually normal behavior of an adult man or adult women. They want to be having adult conversations and just, you know, not watching the children and playing with them the whole time. That's like a
Yeah.
big warning sign. Do not trust that kind of people just because they're super nice around your children or giving them gifts all the time. No, that's just not normal.
Yeah. And again, like I think the on in the case of parents, It's easy, as we know, for kids to be duped into thinking that that uncle, that auntie, that
Mhm.
family friend, that teacher has the best interest at heart
Yes.
for me. And if they're asking me to do such and such, they must have a reason. And when that does happen, it's going to be hard for me to come back because I'm a kid. No one's going to believe me and they're going to blame me. They're going to, who's going to trust the
Mhm.
kid over
Mhm.
an adult? And that was big in my culture too. Parents, that's where I put such a heavy burden on parents to
Mhm.
be the ones on the lookout, even more than the kid. So
Yeah.
again, perhaps it's because of what's happened to me in my past, and I'm a super
Me
vigilant and very hands on. Like I'm
me
that
too.
helicopter parent. But
Me
sometimes
too.
being a helicopter parent gets such a bad connotation, bad rep because oh, you got to let your kids be. You got to let them go out there
Mm-mm.
and experience the world. You got to, be. Fine. But is there a, like, happy medium there? Is there a
Mm-mm.
balance? And I believe there's such a balance. It's very vivid, but sometimes we choose not to see it and we replace it with excuses. Hey, listen, it was the uncle, it was the auntie. How would I know that? Oh, you could have known that. If
Yeah,
you
you
actually
could.
pay attention, not let your kids be with the uncle 24/7, and you're
Mhm.
always looking for the opportunity to leave your kid and leave them with some family member, some friends at some neighbor's house that you barely even know, but you just want to go do you. The point that I'm trying to make is, as parents,
It's
I
a
mean, if it wasn't,
responsibility.
yeah, yeah, if it wasn't already known, like, being selfish is not part of the equation here. Once you have a family, you have a
Yes.
husband, a wife, like, selfish is not part of the equation. And I think a lot of those things happen. It's the result of selfishness. Oh, I want
Yeah,
some time to myself. I want to do
I
this. I
agree.
need to decompress. I need to do this.
100%.
Like, go to the neighbors. Like, again,
Mm-mm.
do you know the neighbor? Do you know who your brother is, your
Mm.
sister, who your friend is? Like, get to know people before you entrust them with such valuable
Yes.
package. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Now that you're touching this point, also, I want to bring out like how so many parents will allow sleepovers. That's one thing that I'm completely against because
same,
sleepovers, that's a no.
the
Why?
worst way.
No, the worst way. Going to a stranger's house when you don't know who's in and who's out, who your child
Mhm.
is going to be around, even if you know the parents, you don't know if a cousin is coming over there. You don't know if an uncle is coming over there. I've seen so many cases of CSA happening during sleepovers at a friend's house or like even like as at a cousin's house. You just never know. That whole thing of, oh, yeah, like you said, leaving your kids wherever so you can have time for yourself. I'm sorry, but that ends when you have children. Your
Yes.
children are your number one responsibility.
Yeah.
They should be the only, like, you don't leave your kids just because you want some time for yourself with someone you
Yeah.
don't know. Even like right now, I even have a hard time just finding someone like a babysitter to have time with my husband, this and that. You know what? If
Mhm.
I don't find the babysitter that I will 100% trust, which is really hard, I'm
Mhm.
fine with that because this is just a stage where they're young. I much rather not have time for myself whatsoever than my daughter going through something unimaginable.
And that's, see, again, beautifully put, because if you're selfish, any level of selfish as a parent, as a spouse, you are not going to see the problem into just leaving your kid with somebody that you barely know. You're not going to
Hmm.
see that because you're going to be so focused on yourself. Oh my gosh, it was such a long week. Work was awful. And I'm doing all this work thing for you to send you to school to do this and this. Like, give me some break. But at the end of the day, like, the kid shouldn't be bothered with any of your stress or
Hmm.
anything like that. Grow up and do what you're supposed to be doing. If you have to go on a date in 5 years when you can find somebody that you trust or you get, like, do that, but you don't want to jeopardize that. So I think we're on the same page as far as the grooming and signs and how parents
Hmm.
should really show up. And just to wrap this part up, so as far as the grooming. Who are the perpetrators? Who exactly are the groomers?
Hmm.
They're the teachers, in some cases, parents,
Yeah, that's true.
family, friends. I don't know, like the coach, you name
Coaches,
it. Anybody.
priests are
The
big on
priests.
that.
Yeah, yeah. Anybody in some sort of authority figure, they are
Yes.
the groomers. I'll tell you a quick story just to wrap up this. So I went to high school with the kid. We played sports and everything. So again, this is certainly not to throw any shade on Christianity because there are bad apples in just about any religion. So
Yeah.
anybody who believes otherwise, you are, I'm sorry to say, you were a fool. But
Hmm.
this kid, we went to school together and everybody knew him as a good kid. But long story short, fast forward, we graduated and I think he was even in ministry. He was like a youth pastor, but he was doing some weird sexual perversion type of stuff where he was even recording stuff that he was doing with the youth. So
Was this in IT?
no, this was here in America.
Oh, okay.
Up in PA. So long story short, you just never know people. You may think you know people, but you never
Hmm.
know people. And what's the best way to go about those kind of things? It's not just to look at everybody and be like, hey, you could be that, you are that, or just doubting everybody. Instead of doing that, which is not fair to doubt people and thinking that they're just going to do that to your child.
Hmm.
How about you pay more attention? You spend more time with your child. You
Yes.
are more involved in your child's life and you don't make excuses. I can guarantee you, if you do those things, you do them the best you can, the chances of your child experiencing any type of CSA, any type of abuse, it reduces dramatically. I can
Hmm.
guarantee that.
I agree.
So now let's talk about, I think we kind of covered the impact on survivors. So I guess I'll open up with this. Sometimes people think once you've been through it, I'd like to say in my case, not have mastered it, but I'm at a point where it does not affect my life the way it used to.
Hmm.
I've gotten to the top of it where I can talk about it and help people and not spending days where I'm just like miserable and just like having so much hatred.
Hmm.
So, no, like that hatred that I used to have, I've used it as fuel to help people. So for
Hmm.
me, it's not an issue, but I know how hard I've been through the hard times and it's still there. I don't think,
Yeah.
once you've experienced something, it doesn't just, there's no magic eraser where you can just go in and get rid of it. It's still there. But
Yeah.
I don't think it's not eating me alive every day as it is
Hmm.
for a lot of people. Cause I told you about that little market research that I did on TikTok where people are explaining how they cope with it. And it's very sad. I mean, things from anything from drugs, drinking, tying themselves in their closets at night, screaming in the car, crying every day. Why are they doing all that? It's because there's no one to actually talk to and that would understand. And going back
Hmm.
again to my peers, whenever that was happening, I couldn't talk to anybody. And some people are still feeling this way right now. And that's how they medicate themselves. So let's talk about the impact. So what do you think about the impact right now, whether it's when victims are small all the way up to when they're adults and how it affects their lives?
Okay. So I feel like the number one thing for me will be my self esteem. I had no
Mhm.
self esteem whatsoever. Also, my coping mechanism was food. So I was very, very overweight when I was a child and all throughout my teenage years. I had a problem, but I didn't know what it was. I just like shove it up food to cover everything. And that obviously impacted my self esteem because I didn't feel or look how I probably wanted, but I also feel like I was not worth of anything good. So I feel like just that little thing is so impactful in your life, and that's another thing that parents should like look up for, because if your child is constantly eating and not motivated to do anything, there must be something else. It's not a food addiction, it's something that they're trying to cover up with food, especially because that's like the thing that children have available. Obviously, they're not going to do drugs, or mostly won't do drugs or alcohol. So what you have in hand is food. So that's one major thing. If your child is overeating, it's just overweight and don't have motivation for anything, don't put them on a diet or to exercise. Look,
Medication.
yes, like look, or
Yeah.
medication. Yeah,
Yeah.
just look up why. The why. Why
Hmm.
would they be overeating? Why are they trying, to numb themselves? What
Hmm.
is it? I feel like that was a big deal for me. Then I also felt tremendous guilt all the time. Like everything was always my fault, no matter what it was, always my fault. I was always the one that had to be apologizing. Always thought that I was on the wrong side, even in situations that I was not. And also people pleasing. That's a big, big, big one.
Yes, it
Since
is.
I was little, I would do stuff that I didn't want to do, even when I became an adult, until last year that I remember everything, because a lot of these issues I will think about even as a grown woman. If I was like setting up boundaries, I felt so bad. And I was thinking, why do I feel so guilty? Why do I feel like I should put my feelings aside and just people please everyone in my life? And I couldn't like get to the point of it until I remember, and it made a click. Wow, I've been carrying this my whole
Hmm.
life. And this is why I've been people pleasing. And this is why I always like bend myself for others. that that's a big, big, big deal. Doesn't mean that you went through CSA if you have any of these symptoms, but I will heavily suggest just looking inward and seek some professional help if that's what you like, to
Yeah.
understand why. Why? That, I feel like that's the big question. Why?
Yeah. Yeah. It is pouring. So if you viewers are hearing a lot of background noise, it is absolutely pouring. So I'm in Florida, so it's hurricane season.
Hmm.
So no, I think you are absolutely right when it comes to people pleasing, because I'm not a doctor. I don't have a PhD in just like how the mind works, but I understand enough. Whenever there's a time for basically everything. When you're
Hmm.
little, it's as simple as that. When your kid asks you for something, hey, dad, I want to be this. I want to do this. Can I have this? You are supposed to have the discernment to tell them that no, you cannot have this right now because you know why. You can give them an explanation. It's always good to do that, to kind of give them something that they can grasp, not just like no, don't do that. But those kids, they're asking for those things, not knowing that it's bad for them. It's because they haven't been fully developed yet mentally. So when you are so young and you are taking advantage of this way, it does something so effed up with your brain, with your mind, that people don't realize sometimes. And if you stop and start connecting dots, which is what I did, a lot of ways that I was acting, whether it's anger, whether it's a weird just flare up within my relationships, my marriage and stuff like that. So like I would know where those things were coming from
Hmm.
until I start connecting dots, until I start realizing, hey, I have not make amends with this part of my life yet. This happened. How am I dealing with it? Is it
Hmm.
alcohol, which was a thing for me? So I was drinking a little bit more than I wanted to, that I should have. And so there are a lot of ways people cope with those things, and it's almost never the right way. You just medicating yourself. You just kind of basically putting a band-aid onto a wound that requires stitches, that requires something a little bit more than just
Yeah.
band-aids. So yeah, I mean, I think the
I also
impact is
feel like,
massive. Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I
Go
also
ahead.
think like that's really connected also to a system, society, and culture that does not give any support to survivors whatsoever.
Bingo.
So that's why
Bingo.
we have coping mechanisms. Well, we had, or that's why they look up other sources to numb yourself, because there's nothing, absolutely nothing that you can say like I can heal from this, I'm getting the support that I need. There's nothing, especially in society when you are supposed to receive support, and instead you receive shame and you receive looked down upon.
Hmm.
Of course you're going to find other ways. So I also don't want like survivors that are listening and they feel bad about themselves for looking up for these coping mechanisms. That's, you did what you had to survive,
Yes.
and now
Agree.
you have the power to change that.
Yeah. Again, I'm a very small podcast, but obviously I have aspiration to be a big one where I keep bringing you on and we keep talking about things like that, because I believe those are the things that are important. I'm a foundation type of guy.
Mhm.
I'm a balanced type of guy, and I don't believe anything can be built upon a shaky foundation, whether it's your faith, whether it's build a house on sand and see what happens, right? So our politicians right now, this is a message directly to you. If you're watching this, I know you got a lot on your dockets, but please don't neglect the mental aspect of those victims. Don't neglect what's happening to them. And let's try to figure out a way to bring some awareness, some support to that,
Mhm.
more than what we're doing right now. I wish everybody could have a podcast, especially those victims, talk about their
Yeah.
stories, just flood the system with just important things, as opposed to just, quite frankly, just a lot of stupid things that people talk about on the internet, things that are
Yes.
just like so vain, so useless.
And
And so
fake.
yeah, and fake. People are very fake. You're looking
Mhm.
at me right now. I'm not trying to be anybody that I'm not. I'm very comfortable with who I am. And this is what I'm talking about. And I'm not
Yeah.
afraid to talk about it. I'm not afraid to just tell you there are a lot of fake people online, not because I want to get clicks, not because I want to get views or subscribers, although this is the name of the game for more people to see it. That's what has to happen. But
Yeah.
that's not my number one goal. My number one goal is to, again, raise awareness.
Mhm.
This is happening. I have 4 kids growing in this society. My part is make sure that people know about it. And God
Mhm.
forbid any of my kids would have to go through it. I went through it so that they didn't have to go through it. So that's what we're doing here. So just a
Yeah.
little
And
side note
that's
for those
and that's exactly how
politicians.
change that's exactly how change is made, by someone speaking out. Like, it has to be someone at first that does the uncomfortable part for us eventually see society shift, to
Yes.
see survivors look different, to start actually putting blame on the perpetrators. That's how it starts, just how you describe it, by you speaking out, by me bringing awareness. That's exactly how it starts. Even if we look down upon or frown up, I really don't care about that at all, what people think. Like, if this podcast can make just a single person feel less alone, I feel like that's the whole
Thank you.
point.
Thank you. Exactly. Exactly. I
Yeah.
don't care about just matter of fact, I debated being like a faceless type of podcast because I'm a very, quiet and to myself. I don't like people knowing my stuff. Although I
Yeah.
know what I'm doing right now is the opposite of that, but that's what has to be done in order
Yes.
for the agenda that I have to push forward. But I
Yeah.
thought about, being a faceless guy to just like speak behind the camera and then nobody sees me, but I'm just like, talking about those same things. But
Yeah.
the efficacy of that wouldn't be as good as we
Mm-mm.
know the culture we live in. People want to see you. People want to see how
Yeah.
genuine you are, how authentic. And obviously, to be authentic, to be all that, you got to show your face.
Yeah. It
You
wouldn't
can't
cost,
be
yeah.
exactly. You can't
It
be
wouldn't
hiding
cost,
behind a wall.
no, it wouldn't cause the same impact because that's
Exactly.
what they need.
Precisely. Precisely. Now, let's transition into victimhood and accountability to get healing. And you know a little bit about me by now, how victimhood is something that I absolutely hate because I think it keeps you binded, it keeps you in chains. That does not, like, again, I have to make it clear victimhood does exist. If you've ever been a victim of anything,
Hmm.
if you've ever been wronged by anybody, technically you are a victim. But that does not mean all of a sudden that becomes your identity.
Yeah.
I guess that's my problem with victimhood mentality.
Yeah.
I don't like it when people make it into their cloak, their
Hmm.
jacket. I'm proudly wearing this jacket because hey, I was wrong. I was a victim. I am a victim.
Hmm.
That does not get you from victim to accountability, to thriving, to just be
Hmm.
keep on going to become the person that you're supposed to become. That keeps you binded. That keeps you down. That keeps you just like loaded up with just guilt, hatred, and shame and everything. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I mean, I feel like every survivor has been through it, of why this happened to me, why all these bad things happen to me, and just be stuck on that mentality. I mean, you can allow yourself to feel like that for a little bit, but don't make it your whole personality or your whole life, because like you said, there's not going to be any change in your life. You're going to be stuck right there, and that kind of stuff is going to keep happening to you because you're like, oh, I'm the victim of everything. So, okay, let me be the victim of every single situation in my life. And at that point, there's not going to be any change whatsoever. You can acknowledge what happened to you was terrible, you did not deserve it, but also acknowledge every single beautiful thing that's in your life, because there's got to
Absolutely.
be some, like, even if it's just, you have a bed to sleep on, that's
My
something to
gosh, yeah.
be,
Just be
yeah,
grateful.
for
Yeah,
everything. That those
yeah.
little things, yeah, that shifts your mind to a completely different scenario, and then you start seeing things so much differently, and then so much things, better things start happening to you, because
Hmm.
if you start on that, get stuck on that victimhood mentality,
Hmm.
you're just gonna keep seeing bad stuff happening to you. That's just, I feel like, pretty much the law of attraction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very simple, really, because just think about it. As you're watching this channel right now, just think about somebody who's wronged you. Just think about how you're going about it.
Hmm.
Anytime you have so much hatred towards anybody, you know how you check that? If that person's name comes up, just check yourself. See how you feel. If you feel anger, if you feel just rage, you have not dealt with it yet. and it needs to be dealt with because this person is just occupying such large real estate in your life, in your heart.
Mhm.
And it just, again, you cannot, like, there's no such thing as just accountability and victimhood in the same box. Like,
Mhm.
you have to be actively working to leave victimhood mentality in order to fulfill or to achieve full accountability and gratefulness. I've never seen anybody being completely grateful and accountable while still being hateful and just
No.
completely just like anger ridden, you know?
Yeah,
I've
it's
never seen it.
impossible.
It's impossible to truly fulfill your, like, who you were meant to be, whether you believe in God or not. I do, but
Mhm.
just on a human level, to flourish, can't be angry all the time. You have to
No.
make amends. And I'm not telling you that there's a certain amount of time. Hey, that has to take 2 days. If this happened to you, let it take 3 days. Within a week, you have to get up and just get going.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. As long as you're working on it, as
Mhm.
long as you're working to get out of this victimhood mentality. Victimhood
Yeah.
mentality is indeed a cancer. I believe in that wholeheartedly. And I can give you examples from, like, for days.
And also acknowledging, because you can be in that victimhood mentality, not feeling so great one day, but at least if you acknowledge that this is how you're feeling, you check in with yourself and you know like this is not really my life, and don't let those emotions completely like take over you, I
Mhm.
feel like it'd be easier to move forward for sure.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And we talk about accountability. Let's just throw in the justice in there. And obviously we right now there's this whole Epstein's file thing percolating in the news, and we recently had Diddy, and it's sad to say, but perpetrators seem to be so well connected that even when they have evidence, sometimes cannot victims can't get justice. What are your thoughts on that?
That's just how the system is built. I feel
Sadly.
like,
Sadly.
sadly, yes, because I feel like a lot of these perpetrators are all over the government. All of these, like child trafficking rings and everything. It's all about, it's all in the government. Doesn't matter what political party. I feel like they're absolutely all connected.
Yeah.
So that's exactly the same reason why survivors keep just being silenced. Some of them don't want to come up, speak forward because they know there's not going to be anything. Nothing is going
Yeah.
to happen. It's already so hard to get a conviction, especially when you don't have any proof. It's just what you can say because that's usually how it is. This kind of crime happens really without any proof unless you talk right away. And that's usually not the case.
Yeah.
That's not the case at all. So I feel like there's absolutely something that needs to be changed, especially like in my case, survivors that remember,
Mhm.
they block this trauma and remember years later.
Mhm.
How are
Mhm.
we protected? I
Yeah.
was lucky enough that in Costa Rica there's a law that you can press charges until you're 43. I mean, I was lucky that I was able to press charges, but there's a lot of people that they can do it and they remember way far when they're way older. They don't have any way to come forward or find
Yeah.
any kind of justice whatsoever. And all they're going to say is hearsay. And even if you talk about this and warn other people, it might happen so long ago that people don't really, they say, really, like, why didn't you speak up before?
Yep. Yep.
This is like a whole, there needs to be a big shift on how we see survivors and how the trauma affects the brain as well, and how we can make survivors feel more protected in a way that they know they're going to find some kind of justice and this won't happen ever again.
Yes, I agree. And I'm gonna transition into like the global aspect of it as far as
Hmm.
different countries versus here in the US. But I think, again, because of what we've been seeing, again, I love just watching trends and watching, okay, so if it's going this way and we need to see something happen this way, what can we do? Now let's start thinking about solutions and or ways to go about it
Hmm.
differently. So if we're seeing that those perpetrators are so well connected and they're almost it's almost impossible to get the justice that you deserve based off of their actions. Let's circle all the way back from the beginning of this podcast. I think the one thing that we can do for a
Hmm.
fact is, as parents, being more vigilant, right? Because they are perpetrators, because they do things to our kids. If we try hard to not let that happen, that's a way to not wait on the government or the justice system to do anything. We kind of take justice into our own hands. Where
Mhm.
if you're gonna do something to my kid, is hey, listen, I'm not trying to be dark, but it's gonna be over my dead body. If I'm
Mhm.
as long as I'm alive, I'm gonna keep looking after them, and you're never gonna touch my kids. We
Mhm.
can do something. Again, going all the way back to the job of the parents, the job of the true authority figures in our family to step up. If we step up, I think that's a way to do something.
Yeah, I agree. But I also think there's so many perpetrators. I feel like at this point, it's really hard to know who is one and who's not,
Mhm.
because it's just so silenced, like just how we've been talking about. So I feel like even if you're watching your kids 24/7, even if you are, just always vigilant, I feel like these perpetrators will always find a way to do it. Because in my case, my mom was always watching over me. She was like most of the time, like always not letting me to go to a playground by myself. Like there's so many things that she put in, in order for me to be protected in a way. But they have a predator mind. So they will always find a way,
I
you
agree.
know?
I agree.
So it's really hard to just put all the responsibility on the parents.
Mhm.
I feel like accountability, like in a way of, hey, let's talk about this in, out
Mhm.
loud and say who is just taking out the shame of it all. If there's
Yeah.
someone in your family, if you know someone, that's how you get protected. Because even if you're watching your kids,
Mhm.
someone that it's a pedophile, might be around another kid and
Mhm.
the mom might not be as aware. I feel like you just warning that mom that this person is a pedophile, that can make a huge change. Just, if we're not the government doesn't protect us, I feel like us as survivors, we need to protect each other. That's why I put up a picture of my predator online. I like put up his name, obviously protected by the law because it has to be alleged.
Mhm.
At least people know now that
Yeah.
don't bring your kids around this person
Right.
because this can happen.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt, that it was like my part of the on it, because the government did anything. But at least if I save someone's children's life from going through this because they saw the picture of my perpetrator and they saw what I talk about, I feel like that's a big, big, big shift in society to like how we can change it.
I agree. That's one last one that would have gotten abused. I completely get it.
Mhm.
And just to go back on my point, it's not to take the job of the justice system out of their hands. That's not why
Mhm.
I'm saying that. Matter of fact, like I wish there would be more on the ball when it comes to things like that.
Mhm.
But it's more sometimes people kind of just are too like parents in particular are too willing or too eager to drop the ball or to pass
Mhm.
the puck. Sometimes even without even realizing it.
Mhm.
And
I
so my
agree.
point is because we live in this generation, we understand what's happening. We understand what's around us. Maybe let's just step it up a little bit. But
Mhm.
again, it's not to say now, I guess we know that the justice system's not going to do anything. No, let's go about it in all angles. We're going to step it up and we're also going to keep pushing to see how we're gonna get the government, the justice system, that like our community to do their
Mhm.
parts. My point is if everybody does their part, I think we're gonna see a bigger change, more results, right?
Mhm.
But it's not to say like let's just put it all on the parents. I talk about how difficult life is for a lot of us. Like I have 4 kids, so it's gonna be hard when they go to school for me to keep an eye on them. Like I'm not gonna
Mhm.
be this stalker parent where I have to like be and like I
Yeah.
can't be everywhere at the same time. But where I'm putting all the responsibility on the parents while they're at home, while you're raising them, the moments that you have with them, inculcate the right values,
Mhm.
bolster the like what it is to have the right kind of people in your life and
Mhm.
the signs to look out for, the warning signs. We talked about them. People who are too friendly without even knowing you. If they don't know your parents, don't be too friendly to me. Like my parents don't know you. Let me vet them first. You I just met you. Why are you touching me? Like you shouldn't be touching me. I just met you. Why are you offering me gifts? I don't need gifts from you. Like,
No.
let me talk to my parents first. Why are you not letting me talk to my parents about this gift that you want to give me? Why are you not letting me talk to my parents about you asking me to do this, 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 this? Why are you being so shady? Ask questions.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like don't so easily give them the benefit of the doubt. Teach your kids those things, right?
Yeah.
Because it's
I
our
agree.
job to do that before they go out in the community, out in the public. We equip them to deal with those things. That's what I mean by parents. If we do more, maybe we won't have to rely on the justice system as much when it comes to those big, big cahoons, like where, the ones that those Diddies,
Yeah.
those Epsteins, those creeps in the government
Yes.
and like in Hollywood. Maybe if we do a little bit more of our job, maybe we can see like the percentage just kind of decreases a little bit. That's what I
Yeah.
mean.
I agree with that. And I also have more hope because at least my generation of parents, we're breaking the mold from older generations where just talking about this, something as normal as telling your kids your private parts the right names, like
Hmm.
just breaking the mold in so many other ways, like letting your children have feelings. Because that whole, like in my case, I was raised by that whole saying of, oh, are you crying? I'm gonna, give you to something to cry about. That
Hmm.
can There's not going to be trust. If I feel sad, as a child, and I have all these big emotions, how are you going to find some trust in your, like, telling your parents when you can't even cry when you feel
Yeah.
bad? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I feel like now with this generation, I do have hope that, because I've seen it, especially where I live from, where children are allowed to have big emotions, children are allowed to say no, children know about consent. And just those little things are making
Hmm.
such a big shift in
Yeah.
society where we don't just see children as, like subhumans, because that's how I felt like that's how we've been, children were looked at, like just there to see but not hear. That is making a big difference. We're like actually respecting children's boundaries, respecting their feelings, and that's all connected to CSA. I feel like the way that we're raising them.
Yes. Yeah. So again, you were born in Costa Rica. I was
Hmm.
born in Haiti. Now we live in America. We're American citizens. And
Hmm.
so some stats. So according to, and again, like anybody can Google this. So rain.org is a good one. NIH is a good one. Even Wikipedia is a good one. Approximate. So, let's just see. Okay. So worldwide, globally, we look at nearly 1 in 8 girls. So that's about 370 million girls experience sexual violence before the age of 18, including non-contact abuse, like exposure or unwanted advances. The rate rises in 1 in 5. So it will rise in 1 in 5. So now it's roughly 1 in 8, but it will rise in 1 in 5. Again,
Wow.
if we don't keep doing what we're doing right now, exposing it and raising awareness for it. And then you also have in Africa, for example, which Haiti is very close to Africa as far as culture and stuff like that, even though we're in
Yeah.
Central America, very close to. We have a lot of African characteristics. Regionally, Africa has higher prevalence rate. So we're talking about 20% for girls and 19.3% for boys, with Europe, where in Europe, showing lower rates, 13.5% in girls and 5.6% in boys. Look at the gap there. And
Hmm.
Africa, not that it's good anyway, but like in Africa, you look at 20% for girls, 19.3% for boys, basically the same thing.
Yeah.
And then in Europe, you look at 13% for girls versus 20%, and then 5.6% for boys versus 19% for boys. So again, you see in
How it's related.
countries, yeah, in countries where education, where poverty is such a huge aspect. The last thing I talked about this again in my last
Hmm.
podcast with you. The last thing, parents, they're out looking for food to feed us. Meanwhile, those predators are just like taking advantage of their absence or their lack of interest in our lives on a daily basis. Not because they don't want to, but they see bigger obstacles and they're trying to conquer bigger problems. such as feeding us, keeping us safe on the
Yeah,
streets.
basic needs.
Meanwhile, those kind of things are happening. So it's saddening, just the contrast from
Yeah,
Africa and Europe. And I'm
that's
gonna
a
let
big
you.
contrast. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but like in the U.S. now, some stats in the U.S. according to Rain.org, Wikipedia, approximately 1 in 9 girls and 1 in 53 boys under the age of experience sexual abuse.
I
Still,
think that
still,
number is higher though,
I think
because
so
there's
too.
so
Those are
many.
just
Yeah, the
the
reported
underreported
ones.
ones. Oh my gosh, yeah. So that's the thing. So that's why I always say it's way more prevalent than
Hmm.
whatever the internet is saying. That's why
Yeah.
when I read these numbers, and I'm reading them just to give you an idea, but like really and truly, what about my neighbors who never talked about anything like
Yeah.
that? Those boys that I was raised with in Haiti, like all of them, not all of them,
All
they
of
never
them.
talked about that. Yeah, they all went through it. You know?
Yeah. Same as my family. Every single girl in my family went through it, never reported it. So yeah, I feel like the numbers are way higher. To find a I feel like to start to find a place where survivors I look up different when they come out and society don't put blame on them or shame. That's how it can make a shift for the reporting cases to go up
Hmm.
higher to eventually we won't have any, I don't know, in a hopefully like society sometime where there's not going to be any reporting whatsoever and there's not going to be any CSA whatsoever. But that's how
Yeah,
the shift starts with just talking about it, the society just,
yeah,
changing the perspective on the whole topic.
yeah. And lastly, again, thanks for watching. If you do get value out of this video, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and most importantly for me, share it. Don't just leave it to yourself because the whole point of awareness is for to let the masses know to just be louder and louder every day. Share it, subscribe, please do so. And lastly, what I want to leave you with a little bit about the perpetrator relationship. So most offenders are known to the family, to the victim. 93% of CSA victims know they're abusers. So we talked about it. We talked about the teacher, the uncle, the auntie, some in some cases the parents,
Yeah.
the coach, the minister. 93% of CSA victims know they're abusers. Think about that for a minute. Including 59% acquaintances, 34% family members, and 7% strangers. Let's
7%.
7% are
Yeah.
strangers. So for somebody to just some stranger off the street, or you just moved into a neighborhood and somebody decided to commit like a sexual abuse on your kid, 7%. So that tells you who you should
Yeah.
be more on the lookout for. So
Yeah,
it's the
absolutely.
enemy within. So
Yeah.
the people that you trust, the people that your kids trust,
Hmm.
those are the people. Again, we talked about signs, we talked about warnings, things to look out for, how to be more involved. We already give you the formula. We already tell you
Yeah.
exactly what to look out for.
Yeah.
People within your
Absolutely.
house. It's not to just start diagnosing people as like, oh, you look like somebody who would commit
No.
this kind of crime. That's not what we're saying.
Just don't trust anyone around your kids. And, you know, I don't think that's too hard. Even if it gets some people's feelings hurt, it's like, who
Who
cares?
cares?
Yeah, like the
Who
well being
cares?
of your child is the most
Absolutely.
important thing. Just how you said 7%, only 7% are from people they don't know. So, yeah, even if it's someone, it's always someone that you never think of, just to paint it that way. It's not this monster hidden in the dark. It's not this horrible, weird looking person. It's not. It's the
Nope.
person, the
Nope.
most normal looking, could be very
Exactly.
successful, like
Yeah,
I've seen
exactly.
doctors
Right.
doing this all the time
Yeah.
and lawyers and this, it doesn't matter what they do, like the way they present themselves is going to be a really clean, nice looking person.
Yeah.
Just
Yep.
don't trust anyone. That's the way to go.
Yep.
Honestly, there's no other way.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, hey, Fiorella, do you have anything else that you'd like to add? As I don't know, the audience can probably hear my
Yeah.
kids just crying in the back. So that's my call. That's my cue to go be a
Yeah.
dad. So anything else you'd like to add before we close?
Just know you're not alone. Anything that that happened to you, it happened to you, but you have the power now to change your life, to change your perspective on life, and just know that There's so many communities, there's so many resources, and like this podcast to know that you're not alone. That's like the number one thing. You're not alone. It's more common than you think.
Yes, absolutely. And just again, everything that she just said, and to add on a few more, victimhood mentality. Don't let that don't let that become your identity, because you cannot do both at the same time. You can't get the healing, you cannot move forward, you cannot flourish into the person that you were supposed to be. You cannot make the impact in other people's lives while still being this victim. So you're not alone. That you know that. Yeah, there are people going to bat for you. There are people thinking about you, praying for you.
Hmm.
Now it's up to you to not only get out of this, take the time you need, get the healing you want, do it the right way so that you don't relapse.
Yeah.
But you gotta move on, because your destiny, your identity is not, hey, I'm so and so and I'm a CSA survivor. It's the goal is to just flourish,
Yeah.
and you can't do it
Absolutely.
with so much baggage. You gotta forgive, take the time you need, but forgive for you, not for the perpetrator, right? And move on. So again,
Absolutely.
thank you for joining me. I really appreciate that. And I'm sure we're
Thank
going to
you.
produce more content in the future. And
Yes.
we're not going to stop. I know you're doing your thing on TikTok. I'll
Hmm.
link your TikTok handle as well, so people can go there and follow you and see the wisdom that you're spewing on there. And yeah, thank you for doing that. Again, please, if you do enjoy this video, like, subscribe, and share it. And we will be talking to you soon. Bye bye,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye.
Hey, yeah, you. Thank you for supporting the channel. Like, subscribe, and share it. Help me spread the word.